Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for a visit to Mesa Verde National Park, which is located in the extreme southwest of the state of Colorado. Before getting into the park summary, let's take in the sunrise as I was making my way over to the park. Before getting to the park summary, we're going to stop at the visitor center. Here's a cool statue that will make a little bit more sense once we head into the park. Inside the visitor center, of course, there's a lot of great information about the park and the Pueblo people that lived here, but the main thing here is to buy your tour tickets to visit one of the cliff dwellings. They do have artifacts here, but I didn't really see we could actually look at any of them. There were only these interactive displays, but there is a museum further within the park where you are able to do so. Now we'll head out of the visitor center and make our way into the main area of the park, and that's going to bring us to the park summary. Mesa Verde, which is Spanish for green table, was established as a national park in 1906 by President Theodore Roosevelt, the conservation president, and the park sees about 500,000 visitors annually, so the crowds here aren't really all that bad. For features, like the video title says, Mesa Verde is a little bit different of a national park, as it's actually the largest archaeological preserve in the United States, which protects over 600 sites of the ancestral Pueblo people, including some really amazing cliff dwellings. These archaeological sites make Mesa Verde, I believe, one of 4 national parks where the primary icons of the park are actually man-made. The other 3 would be Gateway Arch, Dry Tortugas, and Hot Springs in Arkansas. In addition to the structures here, there are a variety of canyons and mesas that you can see within the park. I saw very little in terms of wildlife. Mesa Verde is one of the places where you can see the California condor, and you do need to be aware that there can be black bears and mountain lions in this park. For this video, we will only be able to get a look at some wild horses, which I still thought were pretty interesting. As for weather, the main thing at the park is you're at a high elevation, so it can snow here unexpectedly in late spring and early fall. It also can get quite windy at the top of the mesas, but summer here isn't too bad in terms of temperatures. In certain areas of the park, there can be very little shade, so combined with the elevation, you are going to need to have some sun protection. Finally, for cell service, you should have 4G service throughout most of the park. However, if you go down into the canyons, you will lose service then. Now we'll take a brief look at the park map. You can see that there are 2 main drives here, and you also notice that there's no extensive backcountry hiking, as that is prohibited in this park. We'll zoom in on the campground, which if you've been following this channel, you know I didn't camp there, as we're all about boondocking here on this channel. But you can see there are quite a few hiking trails around the campground. The main thing for this section of the map is just before you get to the park entrance, they do have an area for you to drop your trailers, as trailers are not allowed on the roads within the park. Moving further within the park, you get to what I would describe as the scenic areas along the north rim. Here you have the Park Point Overlook, which is the highest section of the park. We won't actually stop at the Farview area, which is close to the Farview sites, which we will visit, but there they have a lodge. Farview is where you can turn right onto Wetherell Mesa Road. You can note that Wetherell Mesa Road is only open between May and September. I visited this park during in October, so I was not able to go to that section of the park. Even though we're going to miss out on that section of the park, rest assured I'm still going to show you all the top highlights of the park. Moving to the south of the park, to the left, there's the Wetherell Mesa section. The main thing in that area is the Longhouse, and there's also the Longhouse Loop. Over to the right, you have the Chapin Mesa, which I would describe as the main area of the park. South of Spruce Tree House, you have the Mesa Top Loop, which is another section of the park that we are not going to visit. But there you have some additional archaeological sites, including the Sun Temple. Over here to the right, you have the Cliff Palace Loop, which I would describe as probably the most popular area of the park. There you have Cliff Palace and Balcony House, which are the other 2 cliff dwellings that you can visit with a ticket. You also have the Soda Canyon Overlook, which we will stop there along with visiting Cliff Palace. Also, just off from the Park Museum, there's the Petroglyph Point Trail, which we will hike on. I hope you found the summary and map overview helpful. Now let's get over to the Chapin Mesa and we'll check out the Spruce Tree House. you could please do me a small favor by liking the video, and if you want to see more videos like this one, please consider subscribing. Thanks so much, and let's continue with the video. Just across from the park museum is the Spruce Tree House cliff dwelling. There used to be a tour, but that's been closed for several years now due to rockfall risk, and I don't believe there are any plans to reopen it. From here you can hike down into Spruce Canyon, and you can do either the Spruce Canyon or the Petroglyph Trail. We're going to continue on the Petroglyph Trail, as I was told that was the more popular hike, and on this trail you're basically hiking along the side of Spruce Canyon. Looks like I'm gonna get a little dirty on this one. Oof, that looked bigger in the picture I saw. Thankfully, I was able to successfully squeeze through that narrow passage there and make it to the other side. For this hike, you definitely need to pack light. I would also say you need to be physically able to hop a chain link fence. There's a rock scramble where you loop back that you'll need to be able to climb up in order to complete the trail. If you've been to Mesa Verde National Park and have a special memory, I would really love to hear about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for sharing those. Here's a minor cliff dwelling that you can check out, no reservation required. Now let's continue along. The two canyons there to the left is Wickiup Canyon, and to the right is Navajo Canyon.
So I was worried about not, I only got 2 hours and this is a 2-hour trail. So I wanted to keep it moving. And I'm walking this trail and I get all the way up there and I'm like, damn, I was in such a rush. I just went by the petroglyphs. But, intuition told me to come back. So anyway, so there they are. We'll see what happens with the second hike of this half of this hike, because they say it's tough and involves rock scrambling. But anyways, we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's pretty cool. And those are like kind of old too. The ones at Arches ain't all that old. Anyways, okay, if I survive the trail, I'll check back in. Bye.
It's interesting, from what I understand, as the civilization here began to decline, the petroglyphs they found began displaying more and more violent imagery.
Hoping I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch, but it appears that the difficult part about the trail is over. Man, this is awesome. I'm not going to go out to the edge because I am afraid of heights. We'll go out a little bit. Make sure this is recording. Yeah. Whew. Look at that mountain way back there. It's awesome. Anyways, I think they got some things here for people to rappel down. Check that out. Yeah, they got even more. Huh. That's interesting. I won't be doing that. Anyway, so we'll finish up this trail, and now we got to make sure we get to the cliff house on time, which is like the main attraction of this park. So anyways, I'll finish this up and see if I can eat lunch, and then beeline it over to the cliff house. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
Now we've made it back along the Petroglyph Trail, and now we're going to head over to Cliff Palace, which is the largest of the cliff dwellings at Mesa Verde National Park. Before heading on the tour, you can get a great view of Cliff Canyon, where Cliff Palace resides. From the view above Cliff Palace, you get a great look at all the structures there. The circular pit-like areas there are known as kivas, and those were sort of like a basement sanctuary. We'll get a little closer to the ruins here, which are constructed out of hard sandstone and adobe plaster. The Pueblo people were a little bit smaller than people are today. What looks like lower windows are actually openings that the inhabitants would use to enter the structure, so it's more like doors, not windows. The tour ends with a closer look at a kiva here, and the park rangers share a lot of great information while on this tour. Hope you enjoyed the tour of Cliff Palace. Now we're going to head on over to the Soda Canyon Overlook Trail. In addition to the views of the canyon, you were able to see a couple other cliff dwellings. I believe this cliffside room here was used to store food, and it's only has a site number. It doesn't have like a specific name. You can also get a view of Balcony House, which again is another one of the cliff dwellings that you can take a tour of, and that one's a little bit more involved. I hope you enjoyed the cliff dwellings. Now we're going to head back north. Along the way, it was really neat to catch a glimpse of these two wild horses here. For our next stop, here are the Farview sites, which were kind of a village farming community, and it's actually about 200 years older than the cliff dwellings. The Puebloan people occupied Mesa Verde from about 700 AD to about 1285 AD. As the population grew, they relied more and more on farming to sustain their population. A series of significant droughts caused crops to be less plentiful, and there began to be infighting among the various groups living on Mesa Verde for resources. Some of the people retreated to the cliff dwellings, which were more easily defensible, but others did remain in villages on top of the mesa. All the structures here are from later in the civilization's history. The structures would only last for 20 to 40 years. Most everything you see here are some of the last structures that were built before Mesa Verde was abandoned, again due to the droughts. Let's head back up the main drive and check out some of the overlooks, which will also bring us to the recommendation and top tips for Mesa Verde National Park. I enjoyed my time at Mesa Verde. As I mentioned, this park is a different national park, and it's really a collection of archaeological sites that are connected by a fairly good scenic drive. My favorite part of Mesa Verde was actually just driving along and checking out all the fall colors. With all due respect, I'm going to have to say that while I had a pretty good time here, this park is not a destination park, and I would really only suggest visiting here if you are traveling through the area. So for whatever reason, you're just passing through southwest Colorado, or you're trying to complete the Grand Circle of National Parks. Mesa Verde, depending on which way you're going, would fall between Black Canyon of the Gunnison and Petrified Forest as part of the Grand Circle. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult for me to suggest that you go out of your way to visit here unless you have some kind of Indiana Jones in your DNA or something, because it is fascinating to learn how the people lived here. I just don't think there's really enough activities or really just awe-inspiring natural landmarks to really see within the park. But on the bright side, this park is actually quite easy to visit in terms of crowds, and it wasn't difficult to get tickets to the Cliff Palace tour at all. And while the cliff dwellings are quite interesting, I don't think they're necessarily one of the top most iconic park icons in the national park system. So again, Mesa Verde is worth a stop if you're passing through, but not more than that. Getting to my top tips, you can do 3 tours here: Cliff Palace, Longhouse, and Balcony House. Those each cost $8, and if you visit the park, it's worth it to go on one of those tours, but I don't think it's necessary to enjoy the park. I found the Cliff Palace tour to be somewhat short. It was just kind of okay. You can see the cliff dwellings from the overlooks if you're not able to get a reservation. So if you were just to bring some binoculars and check out the dwellings that way, I think that would work just fine. It does take some time to travel between the different sections of the park. It's basically 30 minutes one way from Cliff Palace over to Weatherall Mesa. So it's an hour round trip, and it's 90 minutes round trip from the park entrance to Cliff Palace and then back. So please make travel allowances for moving within the park. As for how long to visit the park, I would think one day is all you need here. I didn't feel like I necessarily needed to explore every single archaeological site. As for sunrise and sunset, Park Point I think would be good for both of them. Also, Point View over on the Mesa Top Loop would be a good idea. And sunset would also be good from maybe the Kodak House Overlook over at Weatherall Mesa. For boondocking, when I traveled here, I boondocked at a Walmart in Cortez, Colorado. And unfortunately, that Walmart does not allow overnight parking anymore. And that's not because of me. I don't cause any problems. It's a little tough to find boondocking in close proximity to the park. I understand there are some fairground areas around Cortez, and I think maybe there's some national forest land if you head east from the park entrance. So you may want to give those areas a try, and as always, boondocking is at your own risk. I was really hoping to catch sunset at Park Point there to end the day, but as you can see, some bad weather rolled in, which was Mother Nature's way of saying, hey, you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. It started thundering and lightning, so I had to hop in the van and head all down the mesa. That's going to do it for Mesa Verde National Park. I appreciate you so much for joining me for this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks and take care. Bye.